from OSD about 5 years ago. I have a deaf family. My uncle and my aunts and everybody are all deaf. So I had, you know that teacher here, JC, his teacher? That's my brother. And I have my sister Karen. And I have another sister named Amanda. My younger brother is 7, and he's hearing. And his name is Dylan.
Is he the only hearing one in your family?
Yep, he's the only hearing one. Yep. My brothers are deaf, my sister, but my parents are both deaf. My dad. So my parents are both deaf. My dad is a graduate of RID, and my mom is a graduate of Columbus State.
Where did Dad graduate?
RIT.
T.
Did I?
T.
What did I said RID?
RID. She fed you RID, and you
sorry.
voiced RID. That's the interpreting Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf. That's our organization, our national organization. So not RID, but you got that from her. But that's okay. Just clarifying. RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And so one more thing too. When you're getting a feed from your team person, let her know. Just put up a finger or ask for wait, just so she knows what's going on.
Okay.
So she doesn't continue and you get more lost.
Okay.
So let her know. Oh, hold on just a second. So she knows.
Okay. Okay. So my grandmother is 97 years old, and she's deaf. And so my aunts and uncles all over the place all over the area are deaf. And so I want to tell a story about my parents and my brothers and sisters. When we were little, we went to a restaurant, and the waitress came up and asked, what we wanted to order. And she saw that we were deaf. She was trying to talk to us. My parents were, they're deaf. And so she brought us a Braille menu. Man, do we feel insulted. We're deaf. We don't know Braille. So then she brought a large print menu, or a picture menu. And we said, we can read, thanks. Sometimes, my dad, when he goes to a restaurant, he sees people staring and and we're thinking, what, are we on TV? Are you supposed to be watching us? But, there's lots of different stories, things that happen at restaurants, and I don't know, I don't really have a wonderful presentation, but. So, okay, thanks. So now I'm a lab assistant here, and I help students with, really whatever they need help with. If you need help, come see me. I started about a month ago, and there's a lot of new faces every day, and I really enjoy that.
So the students who come to you ask for what kind of help?
Usually they need help with vocabulary, or help, with their receptive skills. And Abby's been there, and help with sentences and the difference between English and ASL, and I really get to help the interpreting students here sometimes. It's interesting because I learn something new all the time. Because, I don't really know the exact sign for everything, so I'm learning just like you.
What days are you in the lab? Is it okay to ask questions like that?
Every Wednesday and Thursday from 11 till 8. You'll see you there if you come for help.
So do you think some of the questions... First of all, the students who come to you and ask for help, are they students that are in ASL classes, or are they the interpreting classes typically? Do you know?
Mostly ASL students, but some interpreting students too. I have been helping some of the interpreting students with the vagina monologues.
Show me that sign again.
Parts for that.
Show me that sign again. Have you guys seen that? Vagina monologues. So, do you know why it's that sign?
Vagina. Like
Monologue,
Yeah.
so like talking, and there's a sign for vagina, so you bring it up here, it's like communications.
Right.
love that.
Isn't that funny? I like that. Sometimes it helps if we explain why the sign is that way for them to remember it. So, oh,
I've seen vagina monologues, through G-Wave twice now, and I will go see them soon in about a month. I'm so excited.
what's the date?
March 9th and 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Who's interpreting? Just Abby?
Myself, Josie, and Holly are the 3 student interpreters, but there's other interpreters. Amy will be there interpreting Friday night, but not Saturday night. So if you guys want to come see Amy Real World interpret, Friday night, but not Saturday. Tickets are $10.
Do you know the time?
Doors open at 8, show starts at 9, I believe.
Both nights?
I think so, yeah.
And it ends until, what time does it end?
Oh, I don't know. You can find it on Facebook, though.
It's kind of a long play. Yeah. It just depends. Sometimes it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I have 2 cats. They're crazy cats. One cat loves my laptop. He always sits there and watch and tries to catch the mouse when I move it around. I'm afraid he's going to crack my laptop because it goes up to that arrow when I move my mouse. My other cat loves walls. She just jumps for no reason. Jumps up on the wall. Just an empty wall. She'll jump up there. I also have a dog, but doesn't live with me. He lives in Kansas because my friend's parents, they have 3 acres of land there, and so he gets to, run free and be outside.
What kind of?
Right now he's 1 year old.
What's a 12-year-old beagle?
It's a beagle, did she say?
Oh yeah, he's a beagle. He's just now becoming a father. He just mated with a basset hound. There's really cute puppies. There's 6 of them.
Are they or are they not born?
Just, last week or 2 weeks ago.
And so what are the genders of the cats and the dog?
My dog is a boy.
Oh no.
They're all boys.
See, and that becomes helpful when you're talking about the cats, when you know which pronoun to use. So the cat likes to jump on the wall, he or she, so that becomes helpful to know beforehand. And so what I would have done if I were voicing was to stop her right there and say, boy, girl, cat, which, boy, girl, which, and then the dog, boy, girl, which. So you know which pronoun to use, because then I can't tell you how many times I have interpreted for the wrong gender, and then, the mom or the sister or someone says, what dog are you talking about? Because I used the wrong pronoun and didn't clarify.
Or all of a sudden
Just
your
for
male
fun.
dog becomes pregnant or something.
Or if you're talking about a dog and you've labeled it a he and he becomes pregnant. Wait a second. Dog is what, a girl? Oh, that makes more sense. Now you gotta go back and explain to the hearing person what happened. Okay. So what's your school experience like? Did you tell that?
So I grew up in a mainstream school in the Dublin program. I had an interpreter the whole time growing up. And I had one interpreting. Oh, there was one interpreter in my whole class. There were 5 different interpreters that would work with us, but one in a class at a time. It was easy for me, just to learn visually, and luckily it was very easy. When I went to OSD for high school, I really wanted to play sports there. It was tough because I was so used to watching signing. I wasn't used to watching signing from the teacher. I really prefer having an interpreter. I think growing up, I became used to having an interpreter, and you don't have to even look at the teacher. You can just pay attention to the interpreter. But, a teacher wouldn't know if I'm paying attention or not. I don't want to have to worry about that.
Funny. So, explain that a little bit more. Say that part again. So, if you have an interpreter versus having a teacher.
If I have an interpreter, I don't always have to pay attention all the time. But if I have a teacher, they want me to always be looking at them. If I look away, they get my attention. And so I like to have the interpreter because they don't know if I'm paying attention or not.
And a little expansion there that you can add is the interpreter's role is not to force me to pay attention. The teacher's job is to make me pay attention. But the interpreter would just keep on interpreting. So if I looked away, the interpreter would just keep on going. Because it's not their role. But the teacher has the role of making me pay attention. So maybe a little expansion there.
One negative about having an interpreter, sometimes, if you're talking during class, the interpreter will voice that when you don't necessarily want them to voice. You're talking about the right topic, but I love having an interpreter. So.
Did you have the same interpreter? Did you throughout your mainstream schooling?
I had one interpreter more often than the others. I know one interpreter here now, Lori Trent. She's an interpreter. I had her for middle school and elementary.
No.
Some interpreters.
She spelled a different last name.
Oh, thanks anyway.
I was asking. No, I was.
Well, I think before it was Trent, but now it's back to Peters. Mm-hmm.
So she's the one that worked with me most. Yeah, so I had Lori the most, not so much the other ones. One interpreter in my culinary school, in my culinary class, in the last 2 years of high school, I had that one interpreter for the full 2 hours, same interpreter. It was nice because I knew, that she would always be there in class and interpret for me. It was nice to have just that one interpreter. The culinary interpreter had a hard time interpreting while we were cooking because, I was paying attention to the cooking and I didn't necessarily know she was interpreting. And the interpreter would always try and get my attention while I was cooking, but I was pretty focused. In my class, we tried not to have interruptions during the cooking process. The interpreter can't really, come up and blatantly get our attention.
So, the classmates ended up getting used to having a deaf student in the class and an interpreter, so they learned, don't just go over and interrupt all the time. The classmates learned how to, work with the interpreter being there so that it didn't become a dangerous situation causing fire and stuff.
Sometimes, there's like a hot pan and, someone else in the class would pick up a hot pan and would scream that it was hot, and so everybody would know, everybody would look and be able to move out of the way.
But for her to be able to hear it, they had to, because I can hear some, I have some hearing, so they would typically yell, hot pan, and everyone would hear. But for me, they had to really scream loud for me to be able to hear it. So they had to get used to changing their techniques a little bit. Does that make sense?
15 minutes.
Oh, it's been 15 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.